These are currency symbols, and in basically every country, you'll find them everywhere. But these symbols have been bothering me lately because all of them have bars, and I can't figure out why it's the case. I mean, Reddit was full of speculation, and no reputable website told me the answer to this question. So I went on a mission scouring the internet for answers, and after a few days of falling through so many rabbit holes, I found one. But to understand why our currencies have bars on them, we need to first figure out where they even came from. The first two instances of these bars being used in currency symbols is in the Great British Pound in the 1600s and the US dollar a little later in the 1700s. However, it is interesting to note that these two bars may have developed independently. The Bank of England reports that the sign for the British pound was originally a letter L, which stood for libra, or the Latin word for pound. And this makes sense as the Great British Pound came from a unit denoting 240 coins, or a pound worth of sterlings, which was the country's currency at the time. And as for the bar on the pound, historians believe that it comes from an old way of abbreviating libra. I mean, our abbreviation for LB, meaning pound, comes from the same exact word. And the interesting thing is that adding a bar to abbreviate something was extremely common in the Middle Ages. And to prove it, here are a few other examples of this. On the other hand, the origins of the US dollar's iconic symbol seems a little bit more ambiguous. Although not known for certain, the most probable theory for why the dollar sign has a bar on it comes from the peso. You heard that right. According to the BBC, in the colonies, trade between Spanish Americans and English Americans was lively, and the peso was legal tender until 1857. And it's theorized that the dollar sign came from the way people abbreviated peso with a P and a superscript S. The theory goes that, over time, as people continued to use this abbreviation, the P and S eventually merged together, and continuous simplification led to the dollar sign. Of course, there are other theories as well. For example, a common but less likely theory is that the dollar sign came from the letters U and S overlapping each other, which eventually simplified to a dollar sign with two bars on it. This theory better explains why the dollar sign used to be more commonly written with two bars, but remains less likely because it has no factual basis. And also, the stylistic choice between one and two bars isn't even unique to the dollar. For example, you can draw the pound sign, the won sign, among others, with one or two bars as well. Regardless of the true origin, the point is that these two currencies seem to be where the bars on currencies came from. And in both of these cases, the bars seem to be arbitrary and weren't supposed to mean anything. But this is definitely not the case with newer currencies. Newer currencies, like the euro and rupee, have these bars for a completely different reason. For example, the European Union states that the two bars signify stability, and India's rupee symbol has an equal sign essentially to indicate that it's a global currency for a balanced economy. And there's a pretty strong reason for why both these currencies cite stability for why they have bars on them. My theory is that because of the economic power of both the pound and the dollar, newer currencies decided to follow the bar convention set by these two symbols. The euro was introduced in 1999 and the rupee symbol came about in 2010. So there had already been a really long precedent of using bars to signify that the symbols refer to currencies, and most modern currencies feel the need to include one. You see, in the 1600s, Great Britain was a global superpower, and the United States joined them in wealth around 1900. As a result, the pound and the dollar have been currencies that people can trust. And a defining characteristic of these currencies are their two bars. Thus, for many other modern currencies to be taken seriously by other countries, designers feel like they need to add bars. Most of the time, they just don't feel right without them. So that's everything for my few days of research. This topic is really interesting, and every currency has its own backstory, but now you know why the vast majority of them have bars. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. This is Lingonomics, where words mean business. And if you've enjoyed this video, check down below to see if you're subscribed to see more of this type of stuff. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.